Hello YouTube, it's your boy the Passport Bro Wingman coming at you again with another YouTube video. You see the title of the video. I'm gonna play for you a video that's talking about the Passport Bros in Bali. It's very relatable to what's going on in Colombia, and afterwards I'm going to give my reaction and tell you how it relates to what's going on in Colombia. So without further ado, watch this video and then I'll come back and react to it.
Have been using rental accommodations as an office space. Not only that, they have been running tours and travel services around Bali. There are two main issues. One is these digital nomads are using these properties that are designed specifically for tourist accommodations as formal offices, which is violating the premises use. The second thing is that these digital nomads are using tourist and socio-cultural visas to conduct business activities. Like I'm flabbergasted. You cannot be doing that in someone else's country. ASITA is suggesting that some foreigners are even working themselves in roles such as guiding, running, and facilitating tours and retreats. Indonesian law is very clear that anyone on a tourist or sociocultural visa cannot conduct income generating work while visiting the country. Y'all are mad crazy for this one, but it's okay.
So as you can see from the video that I just displayed, one of the issues with a lot of the Passport Bros that are in Indonesia is that they were doing things like generating income on tourist visas and also doing things like turning hotel rooms into office spaces. The reason I showed you that video and how it's related to Colombia is because similar things are happening in Colombia, which are causing a lot of content creators and Passport Bros to be kicked out of the country. Meaning, if you notice, the common denominator in all the Passport Bros, especially the content creator ones that have been kicked out, is all of them are doing tours and they're either doing tours or having some type of programs or guides or meetups in Colombia, and they make a profit on it. While a lot of them are on tourist visas. Now there are some of them that do have like a digital nomad visa or some type of long-term visa while they're there. But the problem is with a lot of elections going on, and then they had like the mayors running for election. We just got like a new president. They want to show that how can I put it? It looks good to show that they're eliminating a lot of competition for the Colombians because right now, because as you know, jobs in Colombia are very scarce. There's still high unemployment there, and as I mentioned before in some of my previous videos, literally, I believe they said like 55. There's a small portion of Colombians. I think it was like 20% that hold like 55% of the income, and the rest of and a large portion, maybe like 30% of the other income, is coming from non-formal jobs like Uber Eats, temporary jobs and that kind of thing. So jobs there are very scarce, especially jobs that pay significantly well or like long term. So as much as they try to, there's been a lot of pushback talking about they don't need Passport Bros there and so forth. They actually do. I'm going to talk about that in another video. But as of now, relating to what we're just talking about, as a result, they're in I'm not going to say survivor mode, but any jobs they have, they're going to make sure that Colombians profit from it. So there even is a female YouTuber that shout out to the homies hub. He had displayed. There's this girl anyway. She's like a hater of the Passport Bros, but either way, she mentioned that there are Passport Bros there doing tours, and she said things like, "You're not even from Colombia. How are you doing tours?" I just bring it up to say this: there's a lot of Colombians that would love to profit from tours, doing from being a tour guide to giving tours and so forth. And a lot of times when the foreigners are coming in, they feel like you're cutting profit, just like in the United States, where people were like saying like the foreigners are coming in and taking jobs. As you can see, that trend has kind of spread throughout the globe, in which now you got like Japan kicking foreigners out. Now, as you can see, even in Medellin, they're trying to kick foreigners out. You saw in Mexico City, they're trying to kick the foreigners out. So this is kind of like a global thing going on. So one thing America do there is to show that the kind of, how can I put it, compensate for a lot of the poverty and shortcomings there is to blame a lot of the people's poverty on like the foreigners that were taking in jobs or raising the prices of rent, raising the price of food, and and in this case they're going to show that we're like taking jobs and so forth. So what one of the things they would love to do is kick out passport bros that are competing with a lot of the locals there. And if you remember, one of the passport bros that recently got kicked out, he said he felt like one of his competitors had reported him um to what do you call it, immigration. He said they reported him to immigration, and there's probably a lot of truth to that, because if they know that you're a foreigner there, they probably feel like maybe you're just there on a tourist visa. They have some type of claim, because technically on a tourist visa you're not supposed to be doing business there. So and even in this case, I'm gonna assume that the passport bro, it was one recently that he did have a work visa and he was able to be there for a long term, and for whatever reason the government still kicked him out. But I primarily believe this is the case because of the tours, because you're still making profit off Colombia, and right now they're in a state where they're trying to make sure that if there's any profit done off Colombia, it's going to be from Colombians. They don't like to see Americans, or not even Americans, just tourists in general, foreigners in general, making money off of them, and they're not able to get their cut. So that's the biggest thing. So in many cases, if you're a passport bro and you're going there and you're not doing tours and you're not doing anything significantly there where they feel like a Colombian should have that job, you'll be fine, because basically you're just passing through. You're just passing through. You're spending money. You're on tour. They're not really worried about you. They're more worried about the people who are going there and doing tours for like a couple $100s per pop a person that comes, setting up meetings, because they feel like that's meetings they should be setting up and they should be profiting from. You're a competitor, and they feel like to some degree you're leeching off the country. So for that reason, when they see you, they're going to try to kick you out of the country. Now, keep in mind that they had mentioned, I think in 1 month or maybe like a few months, they said they denied about maybe like 100 people. Keep in mind that per year, you're talking about millions of people, millions of foreigners coming to the country. That's 100 people here. It's kind of like a drop in a bucket. Because at one point I was listening to a lot of these videos and it had me thinking, especially unfortunately, I used to watch a lot of, I watched some of Casey Redbeard's videos, and so I was thinking maybe if they got him, there's a few other people as well, well-known people as well, they got put out. I was a little worried when I recently went back to Medellin that it was going to be some type of issue that they're, like, maybe they are doing this, but as soon as I stepped into that immigration line, it had to be at least, oh my goodness, maybe like 300 people in line, majority of them are foreigners. And I'm just thinking to myself, I just came off one flight. You got flights going throughout the day. And when you see how many people were in line and how little staff they had, I'm not gonna say it's impossible for them to check everybody, but it would be how can I put it? Extremely tedious for them to do that. Extremely tedious to do that. So really, in many cases, some of the foreigners, if you'll be honest, there's a few things. Either one, because here's the other thing. I don't know if you notice this now, but now when you go into Colombia and you leave, it used to be where when you leave, you would just you will wait in line. You will go to a guy there who stamped your passport. In some cases, when you're leaving, it literally is just a machine. You just go up there, you put your passport on there, it takes your picture, you leave. And I say this to say that they've been doing a lot of updates, and now they're working a lot with the FBI and the U.S. government to find people on these lists, these black lists of people that have engaged in a lot of, let's say, acts and crimes in the United States, and they're trying to make sure those people don't come to the United States. So some of those people, if they will be honest, some people that they've kicked out or denied have had previous things in their past that popped up. So that's number one. Number two, some people who don't have those things. The other thing, as I said before, is you're coming into their country and you're doing these tours. Keep in mind, it's not just Colombians that are watching this; it's also the United States. There was a case in the Dominican Republic where there was a couple. You can look this up. There was a couple that was going down to the Dominican Republic. They rented out like pretty much like some hotels there. And what they would do is they would sell tours to Americans, and they would let you know that when you come to the hotels, they'll have some girls there to accommodate you. If you know what I mean by accommodate and so forth, you can pick out the girls and that kind of thing. So here's the thing: although that's legal in Dominican Republic, it is not legal in the United States. And as an American, you cannot make cash payment off of that because it's and I gotta be sensitive on YouTube. You can't make income off of that. Only the Dominican Republic, only the Dominicans can make income off of that because that's their country. It's legal in their country. But you as American, it's not legal for you to provide those type of services. So the couple was trying to provide the services to people. In their mind, everything says I'm in another country, I'm providing it, it's okay, but it's not the truth. It's not the truth. You cannot, you can't engage in that kind of you can't provide that kind of services. Same thing happened. People know this. Even in Amsterdam, before before marijuana was legal in the United States, and some of these yes, before it was legal in some of these states, people used to they would go to Amsterdam and they would provide tours there, weed tours there. They would charge people per pop. Maybe they charge you $100 and they'll say, hey, we're going to go on a weed tour. And these Americans in Amsterdam, the United States government shut that down. They shut that down because technically at that time, while it's legal in Amsterdam, it's not legal in the United States. People from Amsterdam can make profit off weed tours, but you cannot make profit off weed tours because it's not legal in your state. So as a result, I don't know if people were getting arrested, but I know they were getting fined. They shut it down. So what I'm saying is, when you're going into Colombia, it's not just the Colombian government that's watching you; it's the United States government as well. Just like they watch the social media, the U.S. government also watches your social media. So they're seeing this stuff as well too. Because again, here's the other problem with it: when you're generating income, that's also taxes. So we also gotta consider, okay, so you're in this country, you don't have a work visa, you're just there generating income, but you're not paying your taxes. You see the issue? So what I'm saying is, they're looking at services that are being provided to Americans as well. When they see these they're watching websites, they're doing their due diligence. So um, yeah. So what I'm saying is, a lot of people that are getting kicked out, it has a lot to do with the tours, and you can't, because again, you can't provide these type of services as American. And the other half is some of these other people have a background which now is being revealed to Colombia. So when Colombia sees them, they're kicking them out. They put them on this list and they're kicking them out of the country. Because when I went in there, when I went through the line, like I told you, the line with 300 people. No one came up to me. No one said anything. I didn't even see them pulling people out of line, which tells me that ahead of time they're somebody's tipping them off to some of these people. So, like again, it's either they're going on your social media and they're seeing this kind of stuff, because the other problem is, because here's the other issue. Because you would say, why would the U.S. government be watching our social media? Well, here's the reason why. Unfortunately, there's a lot of men. Unfortunately, I won't say a lot of men. There's a percentage of men who go to Colombia to mess with. Let's just say, we'll say uh, uh, girls who are not of age. They mess with those girls, and probably, I hate to say it, they mess with minors. I'll put it that way. They're dealing with that. So of course, Colombia wants to know, how can we crack down on this. So they're looking at where they're getting this information that they come down here and mess with this. And then what they're doing is they're looking on social media. So they're connecting people. So anyone that talks about um, tours and all that kind of stuff, they're looking into this kind of stuff. And so when they're seeing that you have tours and all this kind of stuff, that's what's I believe that is what's triggering you being put on lists and that kind of thing. Most people don't know this too. This also happened in Brazil as well. It wasn't just Colombia. In Brazil, I mentioned this in one of my videos. Some pickup artists came down there, and what they would do is they got like a big they're renting out like a bunch of rooms because they wanted to do their PUA thing, which they're trying to teach you how to pick up women. And they did a tour where you would come down there. They would provide you with a bunch of women. You would go and talk to women and try like your techniques on the women. Now, again, think about how that sounds. They're providing you women. So again, in their mind, they're thinking that you're obviously had paid for these women. And again, they're looking at that as you, I don't want to use the word, but you see where I'm going with this. So as a result of that, those passport bros got kicked out of Brazil. And a lot of times those passport bros, because these are PUA people, they wouldn't even be, because they probably don't even consider themselves to be passport bros. They consider themselves just being pickup artists and so forth. But the passport bros got blamed for that. Same thing in Colombia. You got the men coming there looking for women who are not of age, and they're dealing with those women. So as a result, all the passport bros are getting lumped in that bucket with them. How can I put it? Here's the other thing that's kind of annoying about the situation. So you got a lot of people blaming black men, saying, "Oh, all I see online is black men doing this, black men doing that." You have no idea. There's so many non-black men on YouTube doing much worse stuff. There actually is you can look this up. There is a channel called Adulting, literally called Adulting, and all it deals with is red light activities. That's one. There actually is another guy, and I've seen this too. This is a Caucasian man. He probably has about almost 200,000 subscribers. He literally lists all the spots in Colombia, every single spot you can go. He goes there on his videos. He reviews them. He talks about prices. He does all this kind of stuff. No one has talked about this. I've seen plenty of other non-black men as well with similar channels going more in detail. So you can't just blame this on black men and say, well, just all the black male content creators doing it. That's why y'all are getting in trouble. It has nothing to do with that. And again, I'm not sure why we're just targeting. Again, this kind of going back to the Austin Holloman situation. I'm not sure why we're just targeting black men. There's plenty of non-black channels. I'm not trying to snitch on anybody, but if you want to look for it, I promise you will find them. You'll find them. It's just that there's a lot of people jealous. For some reason, I'm not sure why. Whenever black men do it, for some reason, it just causes like a lot of jealousy. So for some reason, they would try to make us the face of it and call us out when really behind the scenes, you got a lot of other stuff going on. As I told you before, while there are black men get kicked out of Colombia, there's a lot of non-black men as well. And again, when you calculate the numbers, consider how many men come in Colombia per month, per year. It's a drop in a bucket. It's not everybody. Literally, all you would have to do is go down into the immigration line. I promise you, when you see how many people are in that line per hour, it's literally impossible to check everybody. It would be impossible. So I got in. I didn't have any issues. Plenty of people behind me. Even when I was there, the only other thing I did see was when I was leaving, they were checking people because they do this. They do this to everybody. When you leave, they have everybody put their bags on the table. They want to check to see if you, obviously, unfortunately, carry any substances back with you, and then they also want to make sure. One guy asked me, was I carry any large amounts of cash? If you have any cash, you gotta I guess it's like that little form that says you gotta let them know if you have $10,000 worth or more. I told him, no, I don't have any. He let him check my bag. That was it. I went about my business. So that tells you they're looking for a specific, they're worried about money laundering, that kind of thing. But for the most part, as long as you cooperate, you won't have any issue. I have not had any issues. I've been to Colombia. I'm well into the double digits. Well into double digits. Have not had any issue. And for the most part, as long as you're not making yourself a target, like I saw some passport bros that did kicked out that was saying very demeaning things about the country. Just very negative stuff about the people and stuff like that. Obviously, this kind of ties into, for example, we have foreigners come to the United States. They get here, they're trashing the country, saying it's terrible. And one would just ask, okay, then why don't you go back to your country? So a lot of Americans, they get tired of people coming here complaining. So you could assume it's the same in Colombia as well. You complain about Colombia, but you're coming back to Colombia. So you can see why sometimes they won't want you there. Now, as far as why in general the mayor is targeting these passport bros, one of the major reasons is they're claiming about, the biggest claim is the rent. There's a shortage of housing. The housing there, they only want to cater to foreigners because, of course, they feel like they make more money. But this is causing a lot of unrest amongst the locals there because they feel like they're getting pushed out of Medellin. So that's understandable. Me personally, that is one thing, and also they're getting priced out of dealing with some of the women as well. As before, when it wasn't so many passport bros coming to that city directly, obviously, as you know, dealing with the girls, you didn't need as much money to party and do all that kind of stuff. So in many cases, they get priced out of clubs, priced out of dealing with girls. So you can see where there'll be a lot of frustration. So that's why they would like to find ways to kind of push you out. But my suggestion would be in general, because to be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of Medellin anyway. It's in my opinion, it's become too Americanized. But a lot of guys like going there because they feel like some of the better women there. But there's plenty of other cities in Colombia where there's less travelers, less foreigners. You get a better bang for your buck. You won't have as much of this stuff going on where they're looking at you as a foreigner and they're trying to figure out if you're trying to come there to do all kinds of stuff. But I'm going to end the video with that. I could go on longer, but I don't want to drag out this video. I'm going to have more videos addressing some of this, especially the claim of Colombia doesn't really need foreigners. All we do is come there, and we're kind of like we're not the right type of traveler that they want. Like all this negative stuff. I've been seeing like a lot of negative stuff, so I'm going to address some of that. But nevertheless, this is your boy, the Passport Bro Wingman, signing off.